Have you ever felt like there was a presence lurking around you? If so, you may relate to these stories. Today we have a quick visit from a special guest, Mr. Extremes. If you would like to hear more of his stunning narrations, please click on his icon on the screen. So without further delay, let's begin. Number 1.
Hi everyone, new Reddit user here. I've been fascinated by the paranormal since a young age, and after reading some stories here, I had to share one that my sister experienced. So, my house isn't too old to my knowledge, and I've experienced only a few minor paranormal activities since we've lived here in the past 5+ years, such as the sound of things shifting along the floor of my room as I go to sleep. But that's nothing to be too concerned about, since it could possibly be explained rationally. Also, I've never experienced any negative feelings in my room. Anyway, I'm currently in my 3rd year at university, and I'm pretty sure this happened during my first year while I was away from home. My parents told my sister not to tell me about this incident, but she did, and the thought of it doesn't really bother me since, as I said, I don't feel any negative feelings or like I'm being watched in my room. However, it is creepy nonetheless. For the purpose of this story, I'll give you a couple of facts that you need to know. We live in a 3-story house and my room is at the top. It covers the whole of the 3rd floor, with a narrow staircase leading up to it, and opposite the door on the other side of my room is where my 2 single beds lie. I normally sleep on one, while the other is used for sleepovers and such. We also have a fairly long, narrow garden. Every night, one of us takes our dog out on the lead for his last chance to go to the toilet. And the reason we take him on the lead is that he has escaped the garden at night before, and it's a pain in the arse to get him back. So this one particular night, my sister took our dog out for the toilet, and she said she reached the end of the garden. But as she turned back towards the house, she noticed my light was on at the top of the house, and she felt compelled to look up at my room. The blinds were all the way down. She saw the silhouette of a woman behind the blinds, just looking at her, and my sister froze in fear. It stared at my sister for a few more seconds, then turned slowly toward the side of my room, where my beds are, and walked out of sight. My sister, scared out of her mind, assumed that it might have been my mom, but as she came into the house and called my mom's name, my mom responded from the living room where she was watching TV, and there was no one else in the house at the time. Kind of freaky.
Number 2. So, this is my girlfriend's story, but I wanted to share and get some other opinions as she really doesn't like to talk about it. One day, my girlfriend was driving home back from work around midnight, and she sees a little boy in a ditch along the way. She stops the car to check on the child, as she is obviously startled, and the boy has vanished. Her dad also saw the same boy in the same spot, and the same thing happened to him. Now, on the same road, she was with her family, and had something similar happen in the same exact location. Her family had been dog sitting for a relative, and while driving back to the house along this road, they saw the dog they were sitting. Like, they didn't even question it, because the dog was identical. They immediately panicked, of course, thinking about how they would explain to their relative that the dog had escaped, and how they no longer had it when they came back from vacation. So all of them get out of the vehicle to chase this identical dog into the woods, when my girlfriend says she got a sense that the dog was evil, while it suddenly stopped deep into the woods to stare back at them. She told her brother to stop chasing it due to the evil feeling she was getting. The dog was vanishing in front of them after they stopped chasing it. To kick it all off, they go back home, and the dog is just chilling in the dog pen. He had never even gotten out. She brought up this second story recently, and when she mentioned that they both happened in the same place, I couldn't help but think of the implications that something was trying to lure her and her family into the woods. Number 3. To start off, I'm a 13-year-old guy, turning 14 in a couple weeks. I was just playing on my Xbox One, and it was pretty stormy, so the lights were flickering in the upstairs bar. When I stopped playing my video games, and I got up from being on the floor, I walked to the kitchen trying to find something to eat. As I passed my living room, I saw my dad passed out with the TV on. The night was pretty warm, and the weather was harsh. Rain, hail, thundering, and even lightning. I looked for some wheat thins, one of my favorite snacks, but I couldn't find it. So I went to my sister's room to see if she had taken them again. I was a little nervous because of a flash of lightning that had went off. I was expecting a huge boom of thunder, but not a sound. Suddenly, I heard the washer go off from down the hall. As I passed my sister's room to turn off the beeping sound from my washer, I saw something in her room. It looked like a young girl in a dress. Her hair was flowing down over her shoulders, and she was looking down at something. The scraggly looking hair was completely black. And again, this all was happening during a giant storm, so it was pretty fucking creepy. I glanced over at it again, not completely processing this in my head for a couple more seconds. And then, it was gone. Just gone. I have no clue why or how that happened, or what that thing was. It was just really creepy. After that encounter, I've had more paranormal experiences since then, like stuff in my room being moved or misplaced. And shockingly, it doesn't seem so strange to me, but it happens when the door is locked and you're the only one with access to the room. Anyway, back to the story. There was no one in my sister's room after I turned on the lights. Surprise, surprise, I wasn't hungry anymore. I just went upstairs and tried to forget about it. As much as I try to repress the memory, every time I go downstairs and look at the closed door that leads to my sister's room, it's like the little girl is still on the other side waiting for me. I still refuse to go back in that room again. Number 4. Okay, just to set the scene, this happened around 6 or 7 years ago. When I was staying over at my friend's house with her 2 cousins, we were all around 11 years old. It was late at night, I'd say around 11 p.m., and she lives in rural Donegal, Ireland. So of course, it was pitch black outside, as there was no streetlights. There happened to be houses nearby, but all of them were very spread out and surrounded by huge gardens. We were in the main living room watching TV, while her dad was in the kitchen cleaning up, and her mother was at work. Anyways, the 4 of us were cuddled up together on the sofa, watching the TV, which was in the far left corner of the room. She had a large bay window, which had 4 panels, and in the far right panel, closest to the television, I saw something. It was a baby's arm waving. I still remember it vividly. It was tiny, and there was dirt seeping into the folds of its arms, and in the creases of the palm of its hand. It just waved at me. It had no face, no body. It was just a hand protruding from the bottom of the window pane. Of course, I was terrified and tapped my friend's shoulder and pointed towards the window. She saw it too. Her cousins turned to see it also. The aftermath included her dad listening to 4 hysteric girls screaming about a mucky hand. In typical Irish dad behavior, he just called us mad and told us to stop whining. So yep, that's my one time seeing something that could have possibly been paranormal. Number 5. So, I've been working at a movie theater for over 4 years now, and throughout that time, many of the staff had had weird vibes and stories of paranormal experiences. They ranged from seeing a little boy wandering upstairs in the projection room to hearing voices. For the first few years, I've never bought into it much, but over the past year, I've had a few experiences myself that convinced me otherwise. The first experience I've had stands out the most, so I'll start there. I am the opening manager at our theater. When I open the building, one of the first things I do is go upstairs and turn on the lights. I'm sort of lazy, and I always take the elevator up one floor rather than walk the stairs. Early last year, I would come in, and as I was walking to the elevator, the doors would open on their own. I would take the elevator up, turn the breakers on, and then walk back to the elevator. The doors would open again on their own. This went on for a couple months, and I became accustomed to it, thinking it was just my ghost bro, just opening the door for me. I casually asked a few other employees if this had ever happened to them, and they all said no. Anyways, one day I come in the building after the door opening had happened for maybe 2 or 3 months. Again, the elevator door opens on its own. I get in, press the button for upstairs, and the doors close shut. As soon as the doors close, I hear a woman's voice say,
"Hello?"
It was very loud and clear, and it was coming through the little red box that is used for calling the fire department if you get stuck. This happened about a year ago, and I can still remember exactly how this woman's voice sounded. I'm spooked as hell, and I'm the only one in the building, but the elevator's already taking me upstairs. I never reply to the voice, and get out of the elevator as fast as I can, and turn on the lights for the building and head back. As I walk back, the elevator doors open on its own again. I consider taking the stairs, but for whatever reason, I decide to take the elevator again. I'm curious to what will happen, so I get in, press the down button, and wait. I contemplate talking back to it, but I couldn't work myself up to do it. Nothing strange happens after. About 30 minutes later, my first staff member comes in, and I'm still spooked as hell, so I tell her the story. She's skeptical, but not entirely unbelieving. I tell the story to a few more people, and eventually, the whole crew knows. Like I said, we all have our thoughts and experiences by now. After I told the story, the elevator never opens on its own again. It's been about a year now, and not once has it happened. I've been alone plenty of times in it, and even tried saying hello back, but I haven't had anything happen at all. What should be feared more, the living or the unknown? Please let me know your opinion down in the comments. If you enjoyed this and haven't subscribed, please feel free to. Thank you guys for listening and submitting your stories. And don't forget to check out Mr. X streams. So, you guys stay safe out there, and until next time.